Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Aging with Attitude. My name is Phil Koch. I'll be your host this evening. This is on Channel 21, servicing Charlotte and the metro market. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight we have Jacqueline Venner-Senske, who is the Director of Education with the Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so pleased to get the invitation.
Well, tell us maybe first a little bit more for those of our viewers that are not as familiar with Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens, more about it in general and maybe the history.
Sure thing. So Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden is a beautiful botanical garden just outside Charlotte. It's in Belmont, North Carolina, actually right on the shores of Lake Wylie, right near the South Carolina border. It was founded by Daniel Stowe, who is from a textile family down in that part of the country. And he was someone who was very passionate about art and about nature and about helping people connect with nature. And so we've been able to create this beautiful botanical garden over the past 15 years, 15 plus years, that really has brought his vision to life. And it really celebrates the ability, it's a place that really facilitates the ability for people to connect with nature on all levels. We have an orchid conservatory, we have formal display gardens, we have wooded areas and trails that people can hike, we have beautiful meadows, and we have all kinds of seasonal events and activities for people to participate at all levels. So It's a pretty exciting place to be.
So it's in the city limits of Belmont?
It is. It was actually recently annexed into the city limits of Belmont. Okay. So the way that I like to take to get there, I live in Charlotte, and so when I drive out, I take 85 South, and I take the exit for 273, which is it's an exit from Mount Holly, I think, but I take 273 South, and then if you just follow the signs for 273, you'll get to the point where you see signs for Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden, and then it's just a quick right and a quick left, and you're there. It's a beautiful drive. I'm pretty lucky. It's a beautiful drive that I have to work every day. So yeah, and it's not long at all. So.
And how many acres does it cover, did you mention?
I think the whole garden property is somewhere in the area of 400 acres, but the actual display garden is now around 15 acres. So it's that was bolstered by the addition of a 3-acre children's garden that opened last fall at Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden, and I'm very excited to talk about that. So we opened a new children's garden. It's called Lost Hollow, the Kimbrell Children's Garden, and it's based on the idea of a deconstructed castle, and so there are different destinations within the children's garden, including a moon keep and a sunken pond and an amphitheater, and there's a place called the Mantlet, which is part of it was sort of a defensive structure in medieval castles, but it's actually composed of woven grasses. There's a fireplace cave that's really fantastic. And so it's a really beautiful and whimsical place.
What's a fireplace cave? Sorry.
So let me talk about that a little bit. So what I was going to say is that we've been able to integrate a number of the pieces of Daniel Stowe's original estate into the spaces at Lost Hollow, and so one of the most exciting and prominent features that we've been able to pull from his house into the garden is the surround, like the mantle and whole surround of his fireplace in his actual house.
Oh,
and
cool.
So we've created there's a little cave that kids can go into, and it looks like a fireplace from the outside because around it is, like I said, the mantle and then an ornate stone carving that is from his home.
I bet they would love to do that.
It's pretty fantastic, and there are some surprises when you step inside it too, because kids and adults can step right inside, and then the ceiling is decorated in a really special way that reflects the way that Daniel Stowe's part of his home was decorated. And it's very festive. It has like a ceiling that's the color of the night sky. It's like this beautiful sort of midnight blue, and it has these gold medallions, little twinkle lights. And it's a really fun and kind of unexpected little discovery. And it's funny because we'll come across like kids there with their parents or their grandparents, and they'll come and just hang out for hours. They just love it. They just love it. Yeah.
Just in the Lost Hollow.
Just in Lost Hollow.
Really?
There was one kid I came across one day. His grandmother was telling me that he loves to just go and he just sits in the cave. Like he'll just sit there and have a snack and play, and he'll pretend to build a little fire because kids will bring. We have lots of lots of chances for kids to interact with nature while they're in Lost Hollow, and so they'll go and get rocks and stones and sticks and we have little blocks made of like chunks of branches and things and the idea is for kids to be able to stack them and just build whatever they want with them. Well, he'll go and he'll build like a little fire in the fireplace cave, and
oh wow,
it's been a perfect platform for really imaginative play and interaction with nature, which is exactly what we were hoping to accomplish. So,
now, you find families coming out to picnic there and bring like a blanket and lay out? Can they do that? Yeah.
We have families who will come and spend the whole day.
Right.
And we have families who will come and spend the whole day. People can bring picnic lunches. However, we are also adding, especially in the spring, we're adding food trucks on the weekends, and so you don't have to bring picnic. You can just come and get something great to eat from the food truck.
Oh, that's perfect.
And we're really making efforts to work with local chefs and small businesses that are using a lot of local ingredients and organic ingredients, and it's part of our whole initiative at the garden to work toward more sustainability at all levels. And so and of course the food is just delicious and fantastic, so that's also fun. And then of course we also have some food offerings in our garden store as well. So you can bring a picnic, but you really don't have to, because we have some really great options on site as well.
Wow. So when did Lost Hollow start?
So Lost Hollow actually just opened last October. Okay. We had a big opening event. We had it was so much fun, and it seems both like forever and like yesterday. It's one of those things that it was such a big event that we were all working toward, and it really paid off. We had a huge weekend. So it was in the middle of October in 2014, and we had a nice big opening gala, and we found, and we suspected this would be the case, but it totally proved to be true, that Lost Hollow is great not only for children but also for adults, because I think the adults enjoyed themselves even more than the kids did. But we had puppet plays on the theater, and we had a part where kids got to act out a play. We have one of our school programs involves a pollinator play where kids put on pollinator costumes, and they get to act out the process of pollination, and they get to pollinate flowers. And so anyway, we adapted that for this event, and kids from the audience got to participate in plays and things like that. And we had face painters, and we had kids just playing all throughout Lost Hollow. It was really a magical weekend, and I have to say, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
We just see kids finding new ways to play and interact and new things to do in Lost Hollow all the time.
It's amazing, children's imagination and what they can imagine that adults can't even think would surface. They can create in their own mind that you wouldn't even imagine they could think of, right? Yeah.
That's absolutely true. And so we really find, and this again is part of our inspiration behind Lost Hollow, sometimes letting kids interact with nature is just a matter of getting out of the way and letting them, giving them a platform for that kind of inspired and creative play.
Yeah.
And so that's really the kind of interaction and the kind of play that we want to happen in Lost Hollow. And I also think it really fits with what Daniel Stowe had in mind when he established the organization. And
he has family that are still somewhat involved on the board, is that right?
Yeah. His nephew Harding Stowe is our board president, and he's a great supporter of the garden, of course, and of Lost Hollow and everything that we have going on at the garden. And it's been a lot of fun to have his family members still.
Now, is there a different admission or gate to get into Lost Hollow but it's just all part of the
Lost Hollow is included in the price. Included in the price of admission. We have one of the other great things about having Lost Hollow available is that it's focused us a lot more on the audience for Lost Hollow, which is youth and families.
Right.
And it's also focused, even our garden events that we have, like for example, we have Peter Rabbit's Garden Adventure, we have Earth Fest coming up on April 18th and 19th. all of these, our Mother's Day events in May and our fall events like Botanical, all of these garden events that we have going on, we now are able to integrate Lost Hollow and make use of that space for those events.
Yeah.
And so it really has helped us sort of focus and draw more and more on things just for youth and families at these kinds of events, and they've been bigger and more successful because of the addition of Lost Hollow as well.
Children of all ages.
Exactly.
You probably see adults getting into it.
Oh,
As
absolutely.
much as the children themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of we try to involve a lot of different kinds of hands-on activities with a lot of our events because, and any really successful event is going to appeal to all five senses. There will be something great to eat, you can smell something, lots of beautiful things to look at, interesting things to touch, and smell and hear. We make sure and integrate lots of music for all of our events because we have that great new amphitheater now in Lost Hollow. But having the sort of hands-on experience, something to do and really engage your brain too in the activity is another great component in our events. And we find on a consistent basis that we have almost as many adults participating in some of our activities as we have kids. And adults of all ages. It's not just high schoolers or young adults.
How many can be seated in the amphitheater?
I think the amphitheater officially holds 150.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. So are they seats like going up or going?
They're stone seats, and they're sort of graduated. Like it fits. It's called the Hillside Theater, and so it fits right into the hillside. And so there are both there's that seating, and then there's also grass seating on the hillside. So if families want to spill over with blankets and things like that, there's comfortable seating there as well. And then the other thing is because of the way it's constructed, you really can, if there's a performance on the stage, you really can hear it throughout Lost Hollow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. So you have activities set up all through the summer and the fall. Mm-hmm. So if somebody wanted to see what type of activities, whether it's in Lost Hollow or Daniel Botanical or Stowe Botanical Garden, they would go to the website to see there's a list of activities?
The best place to find out about things we have going on at the garden is definitely on our website. It's dsbg.org, so it's DSBG for Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden.org. Right. And it talks about, you can see everything there from upcoming events at the garden to continuing education classes to information about rentals. We do lots of weddings and everything from family reunions to corporate events,
really? Wow.
all kinds of things like that.
Weddings, you have weddings there?
We do.
Wow.
We do lots and lots of weddings.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful place, as you could imagine. And we have some great relationships with area caterers and other vendors who can really do some special things.
Wow.
It's just such a unique place. I mean, there's really nothing quite like it in this area or almost in the state in terms of the fountains and the floral displays and the conservatory and just the range of the kinds of spaces we have at the garden make it just a fantastic venue for weddings.
I think people that are local from the area might be more familiar with it, but if you're new to the area or not so much local, this is a true gem in our region. And now with the addition of Lost Hollow, wow. I mean, not just for kids, but I encourage anybody watching the show to get out and see it. It's really amazing.
It is, and it's everybody. I think there's a sort of notion that it's so far away, but the truth is, it's a 30-minute drive from uptown Charlotte, and it's, like I said, it's a beautiful drive. So
and right off the interstate. Okay, so Lost Hollow been added, fantastic. Now you said last year there was an exhibit, a sculpture exhibit.
Yes.
From Zimbabwe. Tell me more about that.
So we had this, I almost can't find words to describe it. We had this incredible sculpture exhibit that came from Zimbabwe last year. It's called Zim Sculpt, and I'm very excited to be announcing that we are bringing it back for an encore exhibit at the garden this summer.
Okay.
And let me tell you a little bit about these sculptures because it seems kind of interesting, but it seems a little, I don't know. I wasn't quite sure what to expect until they started installing the pieces, and I went out in the garden and I looked at how, one, how amazing the pieces themselves are, and two, how beautifully they fit into the garden. They just look so inspiring and so amazing. And so the sculpture, it comes from Zimbabwe. It's made of stone. and it's done by, it represents the work of artists from the Shona tribe, which is a significant tribe in a significant culture within the history and the present day of Zimbabwe.
Right.
And they bring in hundreds of pieces, and they display them throughout the garden, and they range from something that you can hold in your hand or display on a tabletop to something that would be the centerpiece in a large backdoor, outdoor garden space.
Right.
All the pieces are for sale, and there's something at every price point. I took one home myself, and I see
Really?
it every day, and it makes my husband and I chose it, and it just makes us so happy. It's just the most beautiful piece. And the stone is so interesting because of one, the different kinds of stone, and two, the way they finish the stone. Sometimes they can put different textures on it, or they can polish it so it's very shiny, and they can do all different kinds of things with the stone.
So they're made by artisans from Zimbabwe themselves.
Yep.
From the Shona tribe.
That's correct.
Is it tribe? Is that the correct? Way?
It's a tribe, and it is, or it's a like a people. Yeah, it's a culture in Zimbabwe. And you can learn lots more about it. They have some educational videos about the history of the Shona tribe and the history of Zimsculpt and this type of art. One of the interesting things about it is the sort of generations represented in the art that they're on right now. This sort of up and coming generation of artists is sort of the third generation of Shona artists.
Wow.
And they have pieces from the first and second generation that are represented in the exhibit, and it's pretty cool to see, how the art, how the medium has changed over time.
Is it more modern art, or is it like figurines, or is it like elephants they're making?
It's everything. It's everything. Okay. Most of the inspiration for the art pieces comes from either nature, and it is like an animal or a plant, or it's based on family. A lot of the pieces that represent people are people together, a man and a woman in a loving position, or a mother and child, or parents and children, like a family setting all together.
Wow.
And like I said, some of them are very abstract, and some of them are very more sort of representational of, like, it's very clear what's being represented. One of the other things I should mention is that we're very excited to host not only the curators who established Zimsculpt, but also two Shona artists will be on site every day doing demonstrations and creating pieces at the garden.
Really?
So that's another pretty cool thing about the exhibit.
So when is this coming?
It opens at the garden on May 1st.
Okay. All right.
We have a ticketed event on April 30th that will be sort of our opening reception, and those tickets are available online. People can go on our website, dsbg.org, and get tickets. Okay. And then the exhibit opens to the public on May 1st.
May 1st. And how long does that last, sorry?
It will be, no, of course, it'll be going through the middle of July.
Great, great. And then any other type of exhibits, this will probably be aired in the summer, so summertime, fall, that that's coming up, that whether it be for Lost Hollow or other that.
So we're going to be featuring some new children's camps, some new summer camps. They're day camps, and we have both half-day and full-day options, and they appeal to a range of ages from 3 years old up to upper elementary and into junior high. So summer camps are something that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah.
We have some sort of educational focused events coming up this summer that will focus on, one of them focuses on bees. It's called Bee Wild. Another one is called Wildlife. And the third one is called Wild Wings. And that's the first Saturday in August this year. It's August 1st. And it's pretty exciting because we have a wildlife biologist who comes in and does research on hummingbirds, which means she captures the hummingbirds in a safe way, and she collects data about their feather count and where they are on their migration and their breeding and all kinds of different metrics like that about the hummingbirds. And everybody can observe this research taking place. Like you can observe her handling the hummingbirds, and then you can help hold and release the hummingbirds.
You're kidding.
Which is a pretty special experience.
Wow.
So we're excited about that. That's going to be on August 1st.
August 1st. Okay.
And then we'll be moving into our fall activities, our fall events. We're going to have a Lost Hollow Music Festival in October. We'll also be having a big family event called Botanical last year, our addition to botanical was pumpkin chunkin. We had a big trebuchet, and we were throwing some pumpkins at the garden. It was pretty
Like,
exciting.
did they bring in tools like you see on TV, that contest? Or is it manual tossing of the pumpkins?
It's well, it takes a couple people to operate it, but it's a big, like a big catapult, and you have to pull it down and latch it, and then you get to help release it, and it was pretty exciting.
I saw a show on that, and they take that stuff pretty seriously. So
pretty seriously. This was our first venture with it. This is our first go around with the pumpkin chunkin, and we may get more serious in the future. And if people are interested, the trebuchet was actually constructed by a volunteer at the garden.
Really?
Which brings me to another point that I'd really like to talk about, which is our exciting volunteer program.
Okay.
As we are growing and developing more and more programs, and developing into new garden spaces and adding all kinds of new events, we are also excited to grow our volunteer program. And so, if anybody is looking for an opportunity to get involved at the garden, you can do anything from come take part in our horticulture crew on a weekly basis and help do some gardening activities, to helping with some administrative tasks if you want to help to tally volunteer hours, or to prepare materials for educational programming, or if you want to come and work with kids, we have a new Lost Hollow docent program that I'm really excited about.
Really?
So
Okay.
we have a whole range of volunteer programs that, or volunteer opportunities that
and
are
I think a
really
lot
exciting.
of people, our viewers should note that, like in other areas of volunteerism, you don't have to have a set number of hours. I'm sure you guys would be very flexible with regards to, somebody came in and said, I could give X number of hours this week, but more next week, or vice versa.
Yeah, we work with a little of everything. Or if you can come in once a month. We have volunteers who come in on a weekly basis. We have volunteers. Volunteers can contribute. We have volunteers who contribute anywhere from 30 hours a year to 600 hours a year, which is quite a range of commitment, and it just depends on what you want to do and what you are able to contribute. We're happy to work with, and we have, like I said, we have a whole range of opportunities, and we'll take any kind of hours that anybody's willing to offer.
Is this considered? Forgive me, I don't know. Is this considered a park? It's not a park, is it?
It's not a park. It's a nonprofit organization. It's a private so it's a private nonprofit.
Right.
And it's a private property, but there's some similarities to a park, but there are some differences as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier about my kids are into music, so you mentioned about the fall music
Lost Hollow Music Festival coming up in October.
Tell us about that.
So we are focusing it this year on bluegrass. We're going to get in a lot of local bluegrass bands, and maybe bands from across the country. So we're pretty excited about that. Again, the amphitheater in Lost Hollow is really just a perfect place to do this kind of thing. And it's going to be very family focused. We'll have food trucks, and we'll have beer and wine tasting and beer and wine for sale. We do sell alcohol at the garden. We have beer and wine available, so you can come and get a mimosa on a Saturday morning, or you can come and you can come and buy a bottle of wine and go sit out in the garden and enjoy a snack, like an antipasto snack from our garden store with a bottle of wine.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you bring your own food in if somebody wants a picnic? Well, that's not allowed.
You can, but as we're developing, like I said, we're developing more and more options at the garden, so we're trying to address some of those needs. So just make it a one-stop shop. You don't have to bring your picnic. You can just grab something from the garden store.
And I remember, I think we had your director on a year and a half or so ago. She was telling me about the abundance of plants and even small animals that are in the. Tell us about some of the things that you might find within the gardens of. Have they replanted trees, or what would you find there at the gardens other than what you're talking about, Lost Hollow?
Mm-hmm. So we have. I guess I would go in sort of a couple different directions with this. One of them is we have our tropical orchid conservatory, and you're going to see beautiful orchid collection, tropical plants of all kinds. And one fun thing to do, especially if you're bringing kids or you're coming with a family, is to look for things in the conservatory that are things you can eat. So you'll see like vanilla and chocolate and coffee and grapefruit and bananas. So all kinds of cool tropical stuff, and just a beautiful, especially in the wintertime, but really any time of year, it's just it's a totally rejuvenating environment. And then in the formal display garden, we have A lot of flowering plants, of course. We have an extensive perennial garden, some beautiful specimen trees that you can come and see. Lost Hollow features a lot of grasses and ground covers and some beautiful plants around the pond. And we really have tried to integrate into Lost Hollow not only new trees that we planted, like the commons are surrounded with some beautiful bur oaks, great big stately bur oaks, but also we have our old woods that celebrate some native stands of hickories and other beautiful native natural trees like that.
Wow.
So, like I said, our display ranges from like formal boxwood and holly hedges with to, like a formal sort of styled garden like that, and we have a broad lawn area on our Four Seasons lawn.
Right.
To also a cottagey feel in our cottage garden, in our perennial gardens, which is really fun, and the fountains sort of weave in and out. So that's kind of a fun, whimsical place. To totally natural areas on our wooded trails.
Wow, I bet this weekend would have been incredible because
Mm-hmm.
of the gorgeous spring weather we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's and like I said, with the conservatory there, even if you come out on a rainy day, there's always something really special and beautiful to see.
Yeah. Well, how can they get more information about the garden?
So like I said, the best place to find information is on the website,
okay.
dsbg.org.
Okay.
If you become a member of the garden, which you can do again at all different levels,
right.
We have a beautiful magazine-style newsletter that we mail out to all of our members on a quarterly basis, and that's always a really fantastic place to get a little more information about an exhibit or about people who have played a special role at the garden, about our continuing education classes and so forth. So our newsletter, if you're a member, and then also our website.
And you can sign up for the newsletter on the website?
You can sign up for our e-newsletter on the website.
Right. But not the
full newsletter is that we in the mail is just for garden members, but on the website you can sign up for the eBuzz, which is our email newsletter.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, this makes me want to go out and visit today, but certainly this coming weekend. Jacqueline Venner-Senske, the Lost Hollow is a new area within the Botanical Gardens. That sounds very exciting, I tell you. And of course, the overall garden itself is something that a lot of our viewers have already been to, but those that have not been to, I certainly would encourage them to go visit. And now with upcoming exhibits, both in the summertime and in the fall, it's an exciting place.
It is.
And it must be an exciting place to work.
It's wonderful. I'm pretty lucky.
Well, thank you so much. Jacqueline Venner-Senske, the Director of Education with the Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden. She has been our guest this evening discussing the many different exhibits, both with Lost Hollow, but the overall Botanical Garden. Thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We look forward to you joining us again on another show in the near future. Thank you all for joining us here